Hey guys, how you doing? IronWolfV here for you, and today we're going to do my first review of a ship that hasn't been reviewed in Lord knows how long. Ship we're looking today, as you can see, IJN Tier 4 cruiser, the Yubari. This is one of the oldest premium ships in the game. This was in a closed beta pack that came with this ship, the Tier 5 Russian destroyer, the Smashy or the Gremlin, and the Tier 7 USN destroyer, the Sims. The only ships I think in this game that are even older than that would be Atlanta, which we will be covered at a later date, and the Kitakami, which was the 20 torpedo broadside lull torpedo cruiser, which was unbalanced and got pulled out of the game. I'm kind of glad it did. It was bad. We were not going to go there. I know many vets and many Kitakami people are going, we want it back, but it just doesn't need to come back, guys. Just let it go. But anyways, Tier 4 Yubari. This ship, I'm sorry to say for me, is a port queen. And we will get into why it is a port queen. But looking at the outside of the ship, and you know what? Instead of port, look at this thing out on the ocean. This is what she looks like out on the sea. See here, there's the water line. You can tell by the red line. It's actually a very good, she's a good looking ship. Very good camo. As you can see here, I have my closed beta test flag. But if it looks for everything, the ship will be just fine. But she's a port queen, and quite honestly, in my opinion, not a very good ship. And I'll tell you why. Let's take a look at her armor layout first. Yeah, this is why. 10 millimeter armor everywhere. Or 13. Yeah, 51 at the conning tower, but 10, 10, 10, 10, 13, 10. And this green part, what is that? That's your Citadel armor belt. 57 millimeters. Now let's pull off everything but the Citadel. This is a big, big problem with this ship. The Citadel sits pretty much all the way to the deck and runs pretty much good half of the ship length. That is all Citadel protected by 57 millimeters. This ship can be Citadeled by destroyers. It's very easy to do. And because of 10 millimeters, which won't bounce anything, you have this very, very thin 38 millimeter, which a battleship goes right through your bow, smacks this, goes right through it like a hot knife through butter, and you eat Citadels for days. That is the biggest problem with this ship. This ship has a very gigantic Citadel. Why? Reasons. I can't tell you why, but that's the problem with this ship. No armor, gigantic Citadel. Holy crap, is this Citadel gigantic? That is literally the biggest problem with this ship. It is a gigantic glass cannon. You cannot angle, you cannot armor, you can't angle, there's no armor. The ship just takes unbelievable amounts of damage. All this Citadel belt does is protect you from HE, from penning your Citadels for most ships. If it's a British battleship, it's going to Citadel you even with high explosive because it can and it will. And it hurts. It hurts a lot. And I think even German battleships can penetrate you with HE and Citadel you. So yeah, there is that. So there's your abysmal and survivability. Remember, this is with survivability expert. 20,000 hit points. This thing has crap armor and no hit points whatsoever. In fact, let's hold on. Let me take him out. Yes, let's take him out, and you can see 18,000 hit points as a tier 4 cruiser. This thing, you can't do anything with it. Now let's put him back. Oh, and by the way, this is the captain. This is one of the captains from the ARP missions. I got every single captain. I put him in my Akizuki. Yeah, you just get some voice stuff. Okay, like I said, survivability, even with that, is 20,000. It's pathetic versus other Tier 4 cruisers. Artillery. This is another part, and time for a little history lesson, kids. When it comes to this ship was a testbed ship for the Japanese Navy, and they tested a bunch of things. Now, in her original configuration, she didn't have the AA defense she does, which includes the secondary armament 120 millimeter gun. And hold on, let's go to the AA. And all these 25 millimeter cannons. What she did have is, if you remove this 120 millimeter cannon, and she had another turret of the dual 140 millimeter guns. So she used to have 6 of these 140 millimeter guns. But as a test bed, they got rid of one of the turrets and put in a 120 millimeter dual gun, which does nothing, and I'll show you why. But let's look at it. She has a reload time of 6.5 seconds. Turn radius time of 20 seconds, so they get around pretty fast. Maximum dispersion 73. That's actually really good. That's destroyer levels. So you can see here, 2400 HE damage, 7% chance of fire, 29 millimeters. That's with inertial fuse, high explosive pen on the gun, so that's pretty much good enough to pen anything. You have a 2700 damage on your AP shell, and it's generally 850 meters per second at a 12.8 kilometer range. Now, the penetration of the AP on these guns outside of very short range suck. You will be spending a lot of time firing high explosive. Unless a cruiser is broadside to you at like 6 to 8 clicks, don't even bother with the AP. It's a waste of time. And then, of course, you got your secondary gun, 6-second reload, 2000 HP, 7% chance, 25 millimeter pen with a 2.4 km. Yeah, quite frankly, I would have loved to have. Actually, you know what? We'll save that for the end. But those are your guns, and pretty much you have a bunch of 25 millimeter AA guns. You have a short range, which is actually very good. In fact, this is probably the highest AA defense you're going to find at Tier 4 at 133 DPS. Your long range gun, 7 DPS. Now, if you happen to catch a flak burst on your 120 mil, you're going to do some damage. But it's only one explosion. You're very rarely going to hit it. And you're mostly just going to get that 7 DPS. And you have long and short. You have no mid range. Quite frankly, this long range gun is a waste of time. I really wish they'd go back to an earlier version of this ship and have a dual 140 millimeter to give you 6 guns instead of 4. Yeah. Okay, let's look at the torpedoes. 2x2, 610 millimeter, which is a little bit bigger. They have a 49-second reload time, which is really good. They turn 186 seconds. Then they have a 14,600 damage. It's actually a pretty hard-hitting torpedo, but they've got a pretty mediocre range at 6 clicks. And they go 63 knots. The big problem with these torpedoes, and you'll see it in the game, very, very narrow arc. They're center line, so they can go both ways, but pretty much imagine right about there for one end of torpedo arc, and that's about the other end. You pretty much have to give flat broadside with this ship to shoot your torpedoes. Do that against a ship, you are going to die. So yeah, the torpedoes, while they hit hard, they got a 6-click range, which is pretty good for Tier 4. Yeah, you're not going to live long to use them, so I would highly suggest don't even kind of forget they're there unless last ditch it, you know you're going to dive and you can get them off. Other than that, don't use the torpedoes. You will die. Maneuverability. She goes 34.5 knots. I do not have a speed flag on her. She has a very tight turn radius at 560 and a sub 4-second turn radius. So she can dance. That's one saving grace about this ship, but she takes a hit, it ain't going to be good. And her concealment expert is 8.6. So she's pretty sneaky for a cruiser, but she has no armor. A very gigantic citadel, almost useless torpedoes, and 4 guns with a pretty abysmal. I mean, this thing is basically an overgrown destroyer with crap crappy torpedo angles. And a 120 millimeter gun, that is worthless. So at this point, we've seen what this ship has to offer. Let's see it in some gameplay. Oh, forgot to mention, guys, upgrades and consumables. Now, this is one of the few ships, I think might be the only ship that has aiming system modification 0. Now, attempt to use this ship without this module. Yeah, you know that really nice dispersion of 73 meters. Yeah, that goes away. It goes up to about 120. So, I'll tell you right now, you want this thing on. This thing used to be flat terrible without this module. So, yes. And then steering gears modification 1. This thing gets its steering gears knocked out repeatedly. In fact, I would highly recommend a destroyer captain on this, like a gunboat destroyer captain, like I have the Akazuki Commander, for the sheer fact of you're going to want last stand. You're going to see why in some gameplay here in a few, but I just wanted to go over, and consumables. This is the only Tier 4 cruiser that I know of. It might have changed. I don't think it has. That has defensive fire. But here's the problem with defensive fire. You only get one charge. So as you can see with this, I get 2. If you get the superintendent, which would be, come on, this one right here, you can get up to 3. This is also a very big Achilles heel. If they're going to make this an A ship, a la carte, kind of like a Tier 4 Atlanta, they should have given it infinite usage, but they didn't. And the only other concern you have is damage goal, damage gone. So, yeah. And of course, torpedoes, all that fun stuff, and your hull. But anyways, now that I went over that, let's get into some gameplay and let's see what this thing can do. Okay, guys. I'm going to do this without any sound, but as you can see here, first battle I did, as you can see, yes, that is 3 carriers per side. 3 carriers per side. And we're going to have some jump cuts here, so here we go. Okay, as you can see here, I'm showing you the torpedo angles. Yeah, you pretty much have to get full broadside on this cruiser to get its torpedoes out, and it has 2x2, as if you recall. And yes, folks, right there, 3, count them, 3 torpedo squadrons. Alright, as you can see here, there's a shot of 7 DPS out of my long range 120 millimeter gun without any flak hitting. Okay, as you can see here, my long range AA has opened up again with a pathetic 8 DPS except for that one flak shot. And I have my DFAA going off, and it's about here where you start seeing my short range AA, which is the lion's share of my AA come in, but they're already on attack run. And I have 1 aircraft down after all that. And this cruiser, by the way, has the best AA out of any Tier 4 cruiser. And as you could also see in that little exchange with the 2 cruisers ahead of me, this ship eats a lot of damage. HE from any angle, IFHE or no IFHE, you are going to eat damage. Even from destroyers. So look how much damage. 744, and he knocked out my engine in 1 broadside. And here comes another attack. I am in serious trouble. And he gets off his attack, and you're about to watch how much damage this thing takes. I have a busted engine, and there goes 3,800 damage, and I'm flooding. Engine and rudder out. This is why I keep last stand on this ship. And here comes the Clemson. Now, as you can see here, these guns do work against destroyers. They do damage. And gunnery isn't the best. I should have let him a little more. I'm still chunking off 18 to 200,000 for 2 or 3 shots per hit. See, C792. I'm looking for torpedo strike. There's his torpedoes. I pretty much knew at this point I was dead, but I was just trying to get the shot off, and you see there I die. But you're going to see me get my revenge, because boom, there's the Clemson down. Okay, and in this fight, you can see I have a problem with, granted, there's only 2 carriers this time, but there's also 3 battleships. 4 cruisers and 3 destroyers. Now, the 3 destroyers and the cruisers aren't going to be that much problem, but the battleships and the carriers are going to be a problem, as you'll see later. Okay, my intention is the island with that little town sitting off it. I was generally heading down there to get islands between me and big battleship guns, and maybe give me a little bit of cover from aircraft carriers. But best laid plans of mice and men. Oh, and if I didn't mention, even with the premium consumables, you can see there count them, two defensive AA. Okay, as you can see here, I was angling in to see if I can get some shots to that little itty bitty crevice right there to maybe get some shots on the Clemson. But he had the same idea as I did, and he got back. Now, as you can see there in the chat, it says, "Hey, IronWolf, get back." At this point, I should have listened, but I was tunneling vision, and, well, bad things happen in Yubari when you tunnel vision. Alright, it's going to leave it on for now. You can see here, strike attack coming in on, I think, the Gusano, and long range, I just turned back on my AA, so I was trying to remain, but I was spotted anyway, so I started, and I got a couple of hits on aircraft carrier rocket planes, but only 2 air kills. And this is, again, the best AA at Tier 4 you're going to find on a ship. And with these 140mm guns, always go after destroyers. And also lead your shots better. And this destroyer right here gets an abject lesson on why you always take as your second skill. When you get the 3 points, take last stand. He's just sitting out in the open, and he's shooting on top of it. If he'd have stopped shooting, he probably could have gone silent. Instead, I'm going to sit there and chunk him to death. And there's the kill shot. Boom. But I let the Valkyrie get around, and as you can see on the mini-map, the Miyogi's also coming around. He's going to be a big problem. At this point, I should have turned left and turned around, but I decided I'm going to get my torpedoes away, which was a bad call for multiple reasons. 1, I pull a Notzer. 2, I take fire, but lucky for me, he overpenned all of it, which is one of the good things about Yubari. If he doesn't hit that Citadel, is he's going to overpen a lot. Thank God. But at this point, I'm in a world of crap because all I've got is a Watataki, and I have a Valkyrie and a Toronto and a Miyogi coming at me, and the aircraft carrier at the Langley. And you're about to watch what happens when a carrier decides, even though you have AA, that it's just going to decide you are going to die now. Even though I'm taking down planes and I'm doing damage. Near miss, and he blows out my engine. There's that Valkyrie, and I should have let him a little bit more. I hit my defensive AA. I'm trying to get that guy to leave me alone. And the aircraft carrier said, "The hell with it," and he just took off 2,000 and knocked out one of my torpedo launchers. At this point, I long overstayed my welcome. And there's the Honcho's torpedo bombers, which are going to also create a problem. And I got the Miyogi coming around the corners. Now, I am in a 3-2 situation. Well, 4 if you count the carrier. See here, I have taken a crap ton of damage. And I'm about to take even more from the Miyogi. Now, at this point, I was thinking, try and get the cruiser. I was trying to get some AP out. And these torpedoes were meant for the Miyogi, and I will land a few of them, but see here, I was waiting for him to get around on the broadside. Again, overpens. Damn it, guns work for me. And I finally get a Citadel, but it's a little too late. Because now I am all sorts of in problems with the Yogi who is ripping me apart. Even though I get some damage on him, I'm still just getting shot to shit. But it's not the Miyogi's going to kill me. It's going to be that pain in the ass Valkyrie who I didn't get down. So here it comes. Boom. Have to remember, folks, DDHE is lethal to a Yubari. Okay, guys, now as you can see here, there's only one carrier and a pair of battleships, and everything else is cruisers and destroyers. This is a much better outlook and fleet setup that a Yubari can thrive in versus the last two. Okay, loaded in. Now, if you're looking directly ahead, there's the island to the right, and then there's the island that's center left. I was basically aiming in to get behind the center left island and see where it goes. Remember, folks, cover, especially in a cruiser like this, is your best friend. Okay, at this point, I was closing in, and the Clemson showed up. Remember, kids, if you see a Tier 4 destroyer in a Yubari, put your guns on the destroyer. And at this point, I also slammed on the brakes. I wanted to get the best shots that I could, because the Watataki, he has basically what Jingles would call a massive rush of shit to the brains, but so does the Clemson as he goes right and pulls a tactical nod there with the busted engine. And for some reason, he repairs, but he takes his sweet time in popping his smokes. He allows me 2 to 3 broadsides before he finally pops smoke, and I bust his engine again before he finally is going to decide, maybe I should pop smoke. But I'm like, well, he isn't moving very fast, so I'm just going to keep laying into the area. As we can see here, boom. I actually got the first kill, and we lost our friendly Clemson to the carrier. But as you can see here, the Watataki's giving as good as he gets before he goes down. Now, at this point, we're down 2-1, but there's a lot of stuff in the middle. Isakasi, a Tenryu, and a very hurt Isoslav. So I decide, what the hell, I'm full health, I'm going to take a risk. And I don't think that Tenryu is going to sit there and fight me. As I come around, the Tenryu even took some damage, but the Slatsav engines are dead. Not moving destroyer is a dead destroyer. And I put him down for my second kill. Now I dropped Twerps there because Angry Smoke equals Torps. And then, Isakazi coming in sub 5 clicks. Of course, I'm laying into this guy with everything. And never let a destroyer run around unopposed. And look, it's 3,100 damage, almost 32. I'm just pumping into this Isakazi. Look at that beautiful dispersion. Another 1,800 damage. And he's on fire. See, a Tier 4 destroyer cannot take this kind of destruction for long, and down he goes. Now I'm in trouble. And I have got a St. Louis. And that Toronto up there to my north. And I do not want to get into a gunfight with 2 cruisers like that because I am heavily outgunned. I've got 4 guns. The Toronto has 8. St. Louis has 13. Granted, they're all in casemates, but they're still like a 7 to 8 gun broadside. I'm outgunned better 2-1. Now, at this point, Toronto's given broadside, so of course, broadside cruiser, AP for the win. But as you're going to see here, RNG is just not in my favor, as 2 shots go in the water and 2 shots go high. And I was looking around because I was making sure I didn't run into friendly torpedoes, but that Toronto made a turn too late and ate 2 torpedoes. Now I'm going, oh crap, to St. Louis. What I should have been looking at, as you can see the mini-map, is that dirt ski. I should have been paying attention to him, and I got damn lucky the derp ski derped. Because there's the warning torpedoes, and I finally go, oh hey, wait a minute, there's torpedoes. Why is there, oh my god, there's a dirt ski at 2.5 clicks. And you're going to find out, I'm actually getting close enough, my 120mm dual purpose gun's going to start opening fire. But at this point, yeah, now I'm playing torpedo beats, though I am going to eat one. But I got lucky because Russian torpedoes at this tiers tend to not hit very hard. So, and remember, folks, this ship has no torpedo defense whatsoever, and I am just laying into this guy. He dropped smoke and turned away too little too late, and there's my Kraken. But I'm also, once again, while I'm checking my behind, I'm checking torpedo beats because, third skis, they reload quickly, and their torpedoes go everywhere. Now, at this point, I'm like, St. Louis, I got a Kaiser. I'm going to start laying on St. Louis, even though I completely whiff. Now, I'm going to get a second broadside out, but, well, sorry about that message, but Kaiser took care of him. But now I've got a bigger problem. Wyoming. Under 7 clicks, and he's closing. I could have stayed in the smoke, but I'm just like, he's not paying attention to me. maybe I can get a close run, get around his flank, and drop torpedoes. Now, as you notice here, I'm shooting at his bow, even though I do have inertial fuse high explosive because this is my Kazuki captain. I don't need it to punch right through his bow. Remember, folks, this tier, even 140 millimeter guns are going to go right through that bow like a hot knife through butter. And this Wyoming made a big mistake because he's trying to get his guns around without spinning his ship around. And at this point, as I just got Confederate, he's 2.5 clicks away. I dumped torps. Now he's starting to turn around, but remember, folks, HE on battleship guns, with cruiser this close, bad idea. And now he's going to pay the price. There's my 6th kill. Okay, guys, final thoughts on Yubari. She's a meh tier 4 cruiser, and I'll tell you why. Excuse me. First things first, this right here. This Citadel is pretty much right to the lower deck, as you can see. This needs to go down to right here at the water line if you get armor for a sec. That Citadel needs to drop to right here. Make all this like 25 millimeter plating. That's just minimum of things that needs to be done with this ship. Make that 25 millimeter plating and drop the Citadel right to this red part, right to the water line. That's number one. Okay, moving on to number two. This gun right here. Now, as a proposed buff to help this cruiser out, along with dropping its Citadel to the water line, I am all for doing the following. If you all know, there's a ship, HSF Harakaze. She has different weapons loadouts on different hulls, and you can pick and choose. Now, history lesson for Yubari. This is her final configuration because she was kind of a testbed ship for different stuff like the 25 millimeter guns, the 120 millimeter dual purpose. But she didn't start out like this. She used to have 6 of these dual 140 millimeter cans. That used to be a dual 140 millimeter mount. My proposal is this: have an A and a B hull. The A hull is the 6 gun, but you lose a lot of the AA. Like here, let me get the AA defense for a second. So you have all these AA guns. You have 8, 16, and like 19 guns. Drop that down to like 10. And then remove the 120 and give it its former dual 140 millimeter mount, which would give the 6 guns. And you would lose the consumable defensive fire AA. Instead, replace that with, I'm open to suggestions, but a 3-click Hydra that maybe lasts 45 seconds. A defensive Hydro. Something to help spot torpedoes and make this thing a better DD hunter. And then in its current configuration, the AA on top of putting back the A and all that, this 120 millimeter gun, yeah, that continuous, that needs to go up to like 14 or 21. This 7 DPS is a joke. It needs to be threatening. And with defensive fire AA, I would also make it unlimited, much like the Atlanta and the Flint. Well, let me put a normal one up here. Action time, instead of 40 seconds, since it's unlimited, make it 20 and have a reload time of 80. And then, of course, for the premium, action time of, again, 20, but a reload time of, say, 60. Let this thing be an A boat, because 2 with a premium consumable is pathetic, especially considering the fact of Tier 4 meta right now, where it's constantly at least one carrier, if not two, and sometimes, as you saw in that first replay, three. So let's make this thing an actual AA boat, not a weak sauce AA boat in this configuration. Then, like I said, make this the AA boat the B hull, the A hull. Drop the 120 for a dual 140 and cut the AAA mounts by half. Drop the Citadel to the waterline. Make that Citadel area instead of 57 millimeters, 25 millimeters. You got yourself a decent little ship. No, I would love better torpedo angles, but with all this right here in the center line, yeah, you're just not going to get it. But this would definitely help the Yubari take not near as much damage, make her more survivable. And like I said, with the dual 140, replace defensive fire AA with a short range hydro to help against torpedoes. You'd have yourself a decent little cruiser. And if it was like that, I would be more than comfortable with recommending this as a fun little Tier 4 cruiser. As she stands now, I cannot recommend this ship. She's a hard pass. The only reason I have her is because she was part of the closed beta package where you got this, the Greshmashi, the Tier 5 Russian DD, and then you got the Tier 7 United States DD, the Sims. But as she stands now, no, I cannot recommend this ship at all. Hard pass. Wargaming needs to do some work with this ship because she seriously needs some help. Anyways, that's my review of the Bari. I'm going to put this up on Reddit, whether it's in the comments for this video or on the Reddit. Let me know in the comments below if you think I can do something better. If you have ships to request, please let me know. And veterans, if I get some stuff wrong, be gentle. Remember, this is for newer players who maybe are thinking about buying this or buying, or this is reviews for players. Hey, you haven't had a review in a ship in a long time. What is she like in the current meta? But anyways, that's the review for Yubari. I think I had a request for Emden, but I also had a couple requests for Atlanta. I also had Arizona. So those are probably going to be the next ships on the list. I was going to go up tier by tier, but I think I'm just going to do this by request. So next up, since I think I had more requests for the Atlanta, I think I'm going to do the Atlanta and by extension the Flint, even though she's a steel ship, but she's very similar to the Atlanta, so I'll just cover them both in the same video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time for another review.